Silence is loud. When someone suddenly stops talking to you, you feel it. The absence is sharp, like a missing piece in a puzzle. One day they're warm, engaging, making plans. The next, cold, distant, unresponsive. No explanation, no closure, just a void. At first you wonder, did I say something wrong? Did I change? But here's the truth. Being ignored isn't always about you. It's about them. Their choices, their insecurities, their need for control. Some people pull away because they were never truly invested. Others because your growth makes them uncomfortable. And some, they test your reaction, seeing if you'll chase. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of trying to fix what's broken, you understood why it happened? What if, instead of feeling rejected, you recognized their absence as a revelation? Today, we'll break it all down. The hidden reasons behind why people distance themselves. The Stoic mindset that turns their silence into your power. And most importantly, how to respond with strength, not desperation. Stay until the end, because the last insight will change the way you see relationships forever. Before we dive in, share your experience in the comments. Have you ever been ignored without reason? Let's talk about it. Let's reclaim our power. 1. People test you by ignoring you. Imagine a battlefield where the only weapon is silence. One side waits, the other side reacts. The first to break loses. This is what happens when someone deliberately ignores you, not because they've lost interest, but because they want to see if you'll chase. It's a game of power, an unspoken test of control. If you react, sending messages, questioning, seeking validation, you hand them the upper hand. You confirm their importance. At that moment, the balance shifts. They are the prize. You are the one seeking approval. But if you do nothing, if you refuse to engage, refuse to play their game, the script flips. Suddenly, they are left questioning themselves. Suddenly, the test backfired. A Stoic knows this well. He who needs least from others holds the most power. The moment you stop seeking validation is the moment you become untouchable. No one can manipulate your emotions if your emotions don't hinge on their attention. Michael learned this the hard way. A successful entrepreneur, disciplined, sharp, but emotionally, that was his blind spot. He was the type to always check in, always be there, and always make sure people felt valued. He believed that by showing up consistently, he'd be respected in return. But then it happened. A close friend, someone he had always supported, pulled away. No messages. No explanations. Just absence. At first, he rationalized it. They're probably busy. Maybe they're going through something. But the silence stretched. Days turned into weeks. Still nothing. So he reached out. Then again, then again. Each time his messages felt heavier, like he was dragging something that no longer wanted to move. And then, realization struck him like a hammer. He wasn't being ignored by accident. This was deliberate, a slow, intentional withdrawal to see how he would respond. And his response? Exactly what they wanted. He was playing right into it, proving that their absence had power over him. So he stopped. Cold turkey, no messages, no questions, no explanations. He took control, not of them, but of himself. Something remarkable happened. The same person who had disappeared, the one who had tested his patience, suddenly reappeared. Friendly, engaging, acting as if nothing had happened. But Michael saw it for what it was. Manipulation. A way to gauge how much power they had over him. That day, he made a decision. He would never chase again. This is where most people fail. They mistake silence for rejection, but a Stoic sees it for what it truly is, a test. And a man who understands the game never plays it. Think of it like a fishing line. The moment you take the bait, sending that "Hey, is everything okay?" text, questioning what went wrong, you're hooked. You've confirmed their importance. But if you refuse to bite, if you let the line go slack, the fisherman gets nothing. The game ends. This is the secret. The person who ignores you is testing you. They are measuring your reaction, gauging your need for their presence. And the only way to win? Don't react. Let them wonder. Let them question. Let them feel the weight of their own silence. Because when you don't chase, they are forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Maybe they weren't as significant to you as they thought. A Stoic doesn't beg. A Stoic doesn't chase. A Stoic understands that the only validation that matters is the one he gives himself. There's a reason silence is one of the most powerful tools in human psychology. It forces people to reveal their true nature. When someone stops talking to you, they expect a reaction. They expect frustration, confusion, a desperate attempt to regain their attention. They expect you to crack. And when you don't, when you let the silence sit untouched, undisturbed, that's when you see the truth. Some people will come back, not because they care, but because they lost control over you. Others will drift away completely, confirming that they were never truly invested in the first place. Either way, you win. Because the moment you stop reacting is the moment you take back your power. Most people think being ignored is an insult. It's not. It's an opportunity. An opportunity to see who respects you without conditions. An opportunity to cut off those who thrive on manipulation. An opportunity to build unshakable self-control. So the next time someone pulls away, don't chase. Don't question. Don't break the silence. Let it hang. Let them be the ones to wonder, to second guess, to feel the weight of their absence. Because a man who does not seek approval is a man who commands respect. 2, they no longer benefit from you. A phone that only rings when someone needs something is not a connection. It's a transaction. Some people are only present when they have something to gain: support, advice, money, time, validation. And the moment you stop providing, they disappear. No explanation, no gratitude, just absence. At first you question it. Did I do something wrong? But no, you didn't. You simply stopped being useful to them. And that's all it took for them to leave. People like this don't value you. They value what they can extract from you. They don't see friendship as a bond, but as a power outlet, plugging into charge, draining what they need, and unplugging the moment they find a new source. A Stoic understands this well. Attach yourself to what is true, not to those who are temporary. Relationships built on necessity crumble the moment necessity disappears. A man who chases temporary people wastes energy that could be spent building something real. Daniel learned this in the harshest way possible. A man who had built his life around loyalty, always willing to help, always available. People called him reliable, dependable, the kind of person you could count on. And he believed that meant they valued him. Then came the hardest year of his life. Business slowed down. Financial strain set in. The man who had always given suddenly found himself needing support. And that's when he saw the truth. The phone calls stopped. The invitations vanished. The people who once depended on him, the ones who always owed him one, were nowhere to be found. It was a slow realization, a painful one. He reached out, hoping for reciprocity, for the loyalty he had given, and he received nothing in return. One night, sitting alone with an unanswered phone in his hand, it hit him. He had never built friendships. He had built dependency. And when he was no longer able to provide, they had no reason to stay. He could have been bitter. He could have resented them. Instead, he chose something more powerful: acceptance. He understood that a person's absence is an answer in itself. When people leave because they no longer benefit from you, they are showing you exactly who they were all along. Think of it as a well that has dried up. Some people only visit because they need water. When the well is full, they're there, drinking, filling their buckets. But the moment the water runs out, they move on, searching for another source. They were never there for the well itself, only for what it could give them. A Stoic does not beg someone to stay. A Stoic does not mourn the loss of those who only valued him conditionally. He recognizes that the only loss is time wasted on those who were never true to begin with. But what makes it even clearer is what happens when you stop giving, even voluntarily. When you choose to pull back your resources, not out of hardship, but out of self-respect, you'll see who truly values you. Try this. The next time someone reaches out only when they need something, say no. Watch their reaction. If they disappear, they were never truly there. If they resent you for setting a boundary, they never saw you as a person, just as a source. People who value you for who you are, not what you provide, will stay even when you have nothing to offer but your presence. Most people learn this lesson too late. They spend years, sometimes decades, investing in people who only take. They convince themselves that one day the effort will be returned, that loyalty will be reciprocated. But it won't. Because these relationships were never built on loyalty. They were built on utility. It is a hard pill to swallow, but it is also liberating. It means you don't have to chase. It means you don't have to prove your worth to those who only see you as a means to an end. The truth is, you didn't lose anything. You just stopped investing in people who were never truly invested in you. And that is not a loss. That is a victory. 3. They are influenced by others. A leaf caught in the wind has no control over where it lands. It drifts, swayed by forces stronger than itself, carried by whispers of the air rather than its own direction. Some people are the same. They don't think for themselves. They don't question. They don't seek truth. They simply absorb whatever is fed to them and act accordingly. One day, they admire you. Then next, they turn cold. Not because you changed, but because someone else changed the way they see you. Maybe they heard something. Maybe someone planted a seed of doubt. Maybe they lacked the strength to stand by their own judgment. And instead of confronting you, instead of asking questions, they distance themselves. Weak-minded people don't need evidence. They need only a suggestion, a rumor, a passing comment from someone they trust. And just like that, the image they had of you is rewritten. A Stoic does not waste time chasing clarity from those who refuse to seek it themselves. A mind that can be easily swayed was never truly yours to begin with. If someone can be convinced to turn against you without proof, they were never truly on your side. If their loyalty is so fragile that a few words can shatter it, then what was it really worth? Ethan learned this firsthand. A man who had always prided himself on strong friendships built over years of trust and loyalty. But one day, he noticed something shift. A close friend, someone he had always confided in, had become distant. The warmth in their conversations was gone. The calls became infrequent. The silence between them stretched longer than ever before. At first, he brushed it off. People get busy. Life happens. But then he heard it, through a mutual connection. Someone had spoken ill of him, twisted his words, painted him as someone he wasn't. And instead of asking Ethan directly, instead of seeking truth, his friend had chosen to believe the narrative without hesitation. It stung. Not the rumor itself, but the realization that their friendship had been so weak, so conditional. That trust, once broken by a whisper, had never really been trust at all. He had a choice. He could chase, explain, prove his innocence, or he could do what a Stoic does, let weak ties break. He chose the latter. If someone values gossip over truth, let them. If they listen to whispers over first-hand experience, they were never truly invested in you. A man of wisdom does not waste time proving himself to those committed to misunderstanding him. A reputation built on hearsay is like a castle made of sand, easily shaped by the tide, easily destroyed by the next wave. Think of a lighthouse in the storm. It does not plead with the waves to acknowledge its strength. It does not dim its light to accommodate the darkness. It stands firm. And those who truly seek guidance will find their way to it. A Stoic stands the same way. He does not chase after those who are easily swayed. He does not beg for explanations. He does not plead for loyalty that was never real to begin with. And yet, time has a way of revealing everything. Some people who once turned away will come back. They will realize they were misled, that they judged too quickly, that they acted without reason. A Stoic does not hold resentment, but he does not forget. He does not return to the illusion of friendship, to the false security of conditional loyalty. He moves forward, stronger, wiser, untethered from those who could not stand firm by his side. This is where most people fail. They crave validation. They chase closure. They want to correct false narratives, explain their side of the story. But why fight for someone who didn't fight for you? When a person's loyalty is dictated by whispers, when their perception of you changes because of something they heard rather than something you did, they were never loyal to begin with. So the next time you sense someone withdrawing, ask yourself, are they stepping away because of something real? Or are they simply drifting with the tide? Because a man who controls his mind does not need to control others. He does not chase lost friendships. He does not explain himself to those unwilling to listen. He understands that those who are easily swayed will drift away, and he lets them. What remains, what withstands, what endures, that is what was always meant to stay. 4. You stop playing by their rules. Some people don't want relationships, they want control. As long as you comply, agreeing, yielding, bending to their expectations, they stay close. They make you feel valued, important, like you belong. But the moment you stop playing along, something shifts. The warmth disappears. The energy changes. and suddenly they are distant, cold, unreachable. This isn't about misunderstanding, it's about power. A person who thrives on control doesn't seek connection, they seek dominance. If they can't have that, they would rather walk away than exist in a relationship where they are not in charge. You will notice this pattern when you stop tolerating manipulation. The guilt trips, the subtle threats, the passive-aggressive silence is designed to punish you. The expectation that you should always accommodate, always give in. The moment you push back, even slightly, they react, not with understanding, but with distance. A Stoic sees this for what it is. The price of independence is the loss of those who wanted you dependent. True relationships don't require submission. They don't demand that you shrink yourself to make someone else feel powerful. If a person only values you when they can control you, their absence is not a loss, it's freedom. Liam understood this too late. For years, he had been the kind of person who avoided conflict at all costs. If a friend needed something, he provided it. If someone disagreed with him, he backed down. If a situation felt uncomfortable, he adjusted himself to make it easier for others. He called it compromise. He thought it made him easy to be around, likable, valuable. Then one day something changed. He had a conversation with an old friend, a man who had always been in his life but had, in subtle ways, dictated how that friendship worked. The friend always chose where they met, when they talked, and what topics were acceptable. Liam had never questioned it until that day. That day he disagreed. It wasn't even a big argument, just a different opinion. But the reaction was instant. His friend grew cold, dismissive. The conversation ended abruptly. The messages that used to come frequently stopped. The warmth was gone. At first, Liam felt guilty. Had he been too harsh? Should he apologize? But then something clicked. This wasn't about a disagreement. This was about control. The friendship had only ever worked because he had always agreed. The moment he stepped out of that role, he became inconvenient. So he let the silence stay. He didn't chase. He didn't explain. And sure enough, his friend never came back, not because the friendship had ended, but because it had never been built on mutual respect to begin with. People like this don't want equals. They want puppets. And the moment you cut the strings, they walk away. Think of it as a game of chess. Some people don't want a worthy opponent. They want a board where every piece moves as they command. As long as you're predictable, as long as you obey, they keep playing. But the moment you make your own move, they flip the board and leave. A Stoic does not play this game. He does not keep people in his life at the cost of his own autonomy. He does not submit to manipulation for the sake of false peace. He does not entertain relationships that require him to compromise his self-respect. This is where many people struggle. They fear the loss. They mistake distance for rejection. They believe that if someone pulls away, it means they did something wrong. But what if it means they did something right? What if the loss wasn't a punishment but proof of growth? There's a reason some people only stay when they can control you. It's because your independence threatens their dominance. Your refusal to comply makes them uncomfortable. Your ability to stand on your means they can no longer use you as a crutch, so they leave. And that's where most people break. They chase, they apologize, they try to shrink back down to fit into the version of themselves that was easier to manipulate. But a Stoic does not shrink. A Stoic does not fear solitude. A Stoic understands that losing false relationships is not a loss. It's a filter. A way to separate those who valued control from those who valued connection. So the next time someone distances themselves, the moment you assert your independence, see it for what it is. Not abandonment, but exposure. You didn't lose them. You only lost the illusion of who they were. And that is never a loss worth grieving. 5. Your growth intimidates them. Some people don't hate you. They hate what you remind them of, their own stagnation. They were comfortable when you were on their level, when you had the same struggles, the same mindset, the same limitations. But then you changed, you evolved, you became more disciplined, more focused, and more intentional. And instead of inspiring them, your growth exposed something they didn't want to face, the fact that they could have changed too, but didn't. At first, it's subtle. They downplay your achievements. They make small jabs disguised as jokes. They find reasons to question why you're pushing so hard. They call you too ambitious, too serious, too different. Then the distance grows. They stop celebrating you. They stop showing up. Eventually, they either disappear or turn into a quiet critic watching from afar, hoping for your failure. It's not personal. It's a defense mechanism. When someone feels threatened by your success, it's not because they dislike you. It's because they dislike the mirror you've become. You force them to confront the excuses they've made for themselves. And rather than step up, they pull away. Growth is a test, not just for you, but for the people around you. It reveals who is willing to rise alongside you and who would rather watch you from a distance. Years ago, I knew someone who struggled with this. A man who had built his life around consistency. Same job, same routine, same circle of friends. He was reliable, predictable. Then something shifted. He started taking his health seriously. He worked out consistently, changed his diet, quit drinking. He became more disciplined, setting long-term goals, pushing himself in ways he never had before. At first, his friends encouraged him, but as the months passed, their attitudes changed. They started making fun of his new habits. They mocked his diet, called him boring for skipping nights out. They laughed when he talked about his plans. He noticed the shift. The way they tried to pull him back, to keep him as the version of himself they were comfortable with. He had a choice. Shrink himself to fit in or continue growing, even if it meant growing apart. He chose growth. It was painful at first. The friendships faded. The invites stopped. The people he had once relied on no longer seemed to relate to him. But something interesting happened. As he kept moving forward, new people entered his life. People who challenged him, supported his ambitions, and pushed him even further. And that's when he realized he hadn't lost anything. He had only outgrown a space that was never meant to contain him. Some people would rather let go of you than confront their own limitations. They would rather call you arrogant than admit they could be doing more. They would rather resent your progress than take action in their own lives. Think of it as climbing a mountain. In the beginning, you start with a group. Everyone moves together, talking, laughing. But as the climb gets steeper, people begin to slow down. Some stop to rest, some turn back. And then there's you, still climbing, still pushing forward. At some point, you look around and there are fewer people beside you. It's not because you abandoned them. It's because they chose to stop climbing. That's how growth works. It's a natural filter. The people who are meant to be with you will either keep up or support you from afar. The ones who fall behind were never willing to rise in the first place. And here's where most people go wrong. They look back, they slow down, they try to convince those who stayed behind to keep climbing. But you can't carry someone up a mountain. They have to be willing to climb themselves. Never shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. Never dim your ambition to preserve someone else's ego. If your growth makes someone insecure, it's not your job to fix it. So when someone pulls away, let them. If they were meant to walk this path with you, they wouldn't have fallen behind. 6. You expose their true nature. The moment you see someone for who they really are, they have two choices: change or leave. Most choose the latter. When the truth comes to light, those who built their image on deception can no longer hide. They retreat, distance themselves, vanish. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they can no longer manipulate you. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The moment the switch is flipped, the shadows disappear. What's left is the truth. And for those who thrived in the dark, that truth is unbearable. Some people wear masks so well that they almost believe their own lies. They present themselves as trustworthy, kind, and loyal. They play the victim when it is convenient. They say all the right things. But there's one thing they can't control: your ability to see through them. That's when they turn defensive. They start avoiding you. They act cold and distant, because the closer you get to the truth, the more uncomfortable they become. It's not a coincidence. It's a reaction. And that's the gift of awareness. You didn't lose them. You lost the illusion of who they pretended to be. I once knew someone who learned this the hard way. A man who worked in a high-stakes corporate environment, surrounded by colleagues who seemed professional and reliable. Among them was one he trusted more than the rest, a coworker he had collaborated with for years. They shared ideas, supported each other in meetings, even grabbed coffee before work. Then one day, something shifted. A project was delayed, and upper management was looking for answers. He walked into the office expecting a team discussion. Instead, he found himself being blamed. His coworker, his so-called ally, had thrown him under the bus, lied, made it seem as if every mistake was his fault. At first, he was in shock. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was deliberate, calculated. He confronted the coworker privately. The response? Defensiveness, denial, then silence. The once friendly dynamic was gone. No more morning coffee, no more collaboration, just avoidance. That's when he realized this person had never been a friend. He had been useful. As long as their interests aligned, the relationship worked. But the moment things got difficult, the mask slipped. He had a choice. He could try to repair the illusion, or he could accept reality and move on. He chose reality. Because people who turn against you when the truth is inconvenient were never really on your side. It's like a house built on a weak foundation. From the outside, it looks sturdy, but when pressure is applied, when the wind blows, when the storm hits, it crumbles. The strength of a relationship, whether personal or professional, is only revealed under stress. When someone distances themselves after being confronted with the truth, that's your answer. If they were genuine, they would address the issue. They would have a conversation. They would try to make things right. But if they disappear, it's because they can't exist in a space where their lies no longer work. And that's where most people make the mistake. They chase. They try to mend what was never real to begin with. They ask, "What happened?" when the answer is already clear. If someone leaves after being exposed, let them. If they needed deception to maintain the relationship, their absence is not a loss, it's a blessing. Imagine standing in a room filled with shadows. Everything seems normal until you light a candle. Suddenly, hidden objects appear. Some are harmless, others are jagged, sharp, and dangerous. This is what happens when you start to see people. The candle represents truth. The things you see for the first time, the manipulation, the deceit, the hidden motives, were always there. You just hadn't noticed them before. And what happens when the light stays on? The things that thrive in darkness, rats, insects, hidden dangers, scatter. Not because you force them to leave, but because they can't survive in the light. People who rely on deception react the same way. The moment you see through them, they disappear. When someone distances themselves after their true nature is revealed, resist the urge to chase. Let them go. People who stand for truth don't run when things get hard. They face reality, they adjust, they grow. Those are the only people worth keeping. 7. Being ignored is a blessing in disguise. Being ignored feels personal. It triggers something deep inside, a need for validation, an urge to understand why. But what if being ignored wasn't rejection? What if it was a gift? People don't walk away from those that they genuinely value. They walk away from what they never truly cared about in the first place. When someone disappears without a word, without an explanation, they are giving you the greatest clarity possible. They are showing you that their presence in your life was conditional, temporary, insignificant, and that is not a loss. That is freedom. Most people make the mistake of chasing. They try to rekindle, to understand, to fix something that was never real to begin with. They internalize the silence as if it's a reflection of their worth. But it's not. It's a filter. A way of removing those who were never meant to stay. The truth is, when someone ignores you, they are revealing exactly where they stand. And that is information worth celebrating, not mourning. Imagine this. You wake up one morning, and someone you considered close is suddenly distant. No texts, no calls, just silence. Your mind starts racing. What happened? Did you say something wrong? Should you reach out? You draft a message, hesitate, and delete it. The longer you wait, the more the silence weighs on you. But here's the question. Why are you chasing someone who doesn't value your presence? If you mattered to them, they wouldn't have disappeared. If they respected you, they wouldn't leave you wondering. Their absence is the answer. You don't need closure from them. Their silence is all the closure you need. You're standing in a room full of people. The energy is loud and exciting. But then, one by one, people start leaving. At first, it's confusing. You wonder if you did something wrong. Then, you notice something. The ones who stayed, the ones still in the room, are the ones who truly wanted to be there. They weren't just passing through. They weren't looking for something temporary. They valued the space, valued the connection. That's how life works. People enter and exit. Some leave without warning, but the ones who stay, those are the ones who were meant to. A man once spent years chasing friendships that were already gone. Every time someone pulled away, he tried harder. He reached out, apologized, even when he didn't know what for. He believed that if he just explained himself, if he just showed he cared enough, they would come back. But they never did. One day, he stopped. He let the silence stay, and he realized something powerful. His life didn't collapse without them. It became lighter. The energy he had spent chasing was now his again. And the irony? The moment he stopped trying, some of them returned. Not because they valued him, but because they had lost control over his emotions. He didn't let them back in. He had learned the truth. Think of a tree in autumn. As the seasons change, the tree doesn't beg the leaves to stay. It doesn't chase after them as they fall. It doesn't question why some leaves turn brown faster than others. It simply lets them go. Not because it wants to be bare, but because it understands that shedding is necessary. That only by losing the old can it make space for the new. That's how you should see the people who leave. They are not taking anything from you. They are making space for those who truly belong. Let them. Don't beg for attention. Don't demand an explanation. Don't waste energy trying to hold on to something that was already slipping away. If they wanted to be in your life, they would be. If they wanted to talk, they would. If they valued you, you wouldn't have to question it. So when someone ignores you, don't see it as rejection. See it as a redirection. A sign that you are being freed from those who were never truly yours to begin with. Being ignored feels cruel. It feels like a punishment. But ask yourself, why does it hurt so much? Because you tied your worth to their presence. Because you expected them to care. Because you assumed the connection was as real to them as it was to you. But reality is often different from expectation. The people who ignore you, who suddenly disappear, who leave you guessing, they were never fully there to begin with. You just didn't see it before, but now you do. And that's not something to grieve. That's something to be grateful for. Because now you know who truly belongs in your life and who never did. Most people see rejection as a wound, but the strongest people, those who master their emotions, see it as a form of selection. Life is constantly filtering out what doesn't belong. People who leave, they were never part of your foundation. They were the temporary scaffolding meant to fall away as you grow. Don't hold on to what was meant to go. Don't chase what chose to run. When someone ignores you, they are doing you a favor. Let them go and move forward without looking back. Silence is not your enemy. Being ignored is not a loss. It is a lesson, a filter that removes those who were never truly meant to walk beside you. If someone distances themselves, if they disappears without a word, they are telling you something important. They are revealing their true investment in your life. And that is valuable information. You do not need to chase. You do not need to demand explanations. You do not need to question your worth based on someone else's inability to appreciate you. True strength lies in your ability to remain steady, to detach from what no longer serves you, and to move forward with clarity. Letting go is not about indifference. It's about understanding that not every connection is meant to last. It's about recognizing who values you and who merely benefits from you. The moment you stop fearing silence is the moment you take back control over your emotions. This is where the wisdom of self-mastery begins. Practice detachment. Observe who stays when you have nothing to offer but yourself. Do not shrink yourself to remain in spaces where you are barely tolerated. Every time you are ignored, see it for what it is, a test of your ability to remain unmoved. If you have experienced this, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may be the one that helps someone else find their strength.